Welcome, everybody, to the UnDisrupted podcast. I'm Carl, joined, of course, with my lovely and salty co-host, Adam. Adam, I have a question for you. This has been an interesting thing going around here in Austin, and that is that this idea that teachers are being forced into the classroom again. Schools are forcing them back in. We have some parents that just can't have kids in their houses for whatever reason, and so they're coming up with all these creative ideas and solutions for the classroom. Share with our listeners one of the ideas that you happened to stumble upon recently when it comes to that.
I mean, you know what? It's so amazing, the creativity and innovation of educators. I saw this one teacher literally put a tent, like the yard sale tents that you, or football game
sports tents. Yeah.
Have one of those in their classroom, and they put the shower curtains all around them and taped it off. So it's almost like that scene in E.T. when they come in there and they surround the house and everything. Like Bubble Boy.
How's she gonna breathe in that thing?
I thought one, she actually just put shower curtain rods and pins and everything around it. It's people are doing various things to be creative. I've seen some teachers, she was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna put plastic bubbles around my kids, and she's literally looking for those inflatable bouncing things and for kids when they want to come to her. I'm like, okay.
They're having a concert. I can't remember the name of the band, but there's a band that's doing a concert pretty soon, and that's what they're doing. Everybody in the show, it's a live show. You come, but you have to get in one of the bubbles. So you just have mosh pits where they're just bouncing off of each other. I mean, I can only imagine. So with that, let me invite in our guest. This is Caroline Little. She's the Director of Instructional Technology at ISD 199 up there in Minnesota. You can follow her on Twitter at Caroline M. Little. Caroline, welcome. What do you think about all that? Teachers going back, creative ideas. What have you seen or come across up there?
Hi, there has been some crazy things, and I'm always impressed with when you walk into a classroom and see what people have. I've seen people walking around with a yardstick, which seems kind of old school, but measuring kids hey, you're too close, hula hoops. I mean, all kinds of things, chalk everywhere, just trying to keep themselves and the kids distanced and safe. So we have not seen any big bubbles yet, Adam. No, I think people are going to like that.
We should market that and put a logo on it.
Yes, there you go.
But the crazy thing, and this kind of shows the community that our teachers have been creating. So I mean, there's so many of these Facebook groups out there, teaching during COVID-19. If there's a group for it, you can find it on social media. I mean, there's a Pinterest board on ways to secure your classroom from your students. It's almost like they have the plague, Night of the Living Dead.
I mean, in some ways, this has really forced them into a lot of teachers into social media more than I thought they ever maybe would be. The Facebook groups, you're right, man, they're everywhere. We always start out, of course, with a fun question. So I'm going to throw this one at you, Caroline. Let's see if you're ready for this one. Explain to our listeners, what exactly is a cheese curd, and who makes the best one?
Well, if you don't know about a cheese curd, the cheese curd is a chunk of cheese in its inception at first, but then you batter it, usually in a beer batter, and then fry it up, and you have yourself a really delicious, amazing, I'm going like this because it's gooey.
It stretches out, yes. For those of you that are listening, she's using the hand signs of stretch.
Correct.
Just to watch the video later.
This would be a huge debate here, who makes the best. I personally love the cheese curds at Shamrock's Irish Pub, but people would say probably the Minnesota State Fair cheese curd is the best, and since we didn't have the Minnesota State Fair this year, there's lots of little pop-up cheese curd stands all over, so people are testing them out everywhere.
Just like the sports tent, Adam. They got the little pop-up cheese curd tents that are popping up. And then, of course, to add to it, you have to dip it in ranch or something, because it sounds like it's not that way it's a little healthier.
Ranch makes everything better, so for sure.
Well, you did a good job on that. Good job on that.
Ranch and bacon grease.
Yeah.
Ooh, the bacon cheese curd would be legit. That would be legit.
So other than people trying to sneak cheese curd in the buildings, You know, when we talk about the school year, we had last season where we were talking to everybody about, getting ready for the start of the school year. Now that we've started, kind of let us know, basically, how has it gone so far this school year? And with that, what issues that have come up that you didn't foresee?
I would say we overall have felt really positive about once we got going and started and kids were in our building. So we are doing a hybrid model. And then in addition, the state of Minnesota put out to families that if families chose to go 100% online, every district had to provide that. So that was new for us. We didn't have a full online program. So we sort of I don't want to say built, we are building that plane as we're flying it for sure. But it really does feel like everything got off the ground pretty well. The anxiety went down a lot once the kids got there and we realized, hey, we're actually all going to be okay. But I would say, as I've thought about this, I just think the importance of really listening to people and really having empathy for what they're going through. So it's so easy to go on the defense or feel like, oh, I have to hurry up and fix this for people. But it's really just listening and hearing what their experience is and then how can we support them. But vice versa too. I think everybody has been working so hard. It's just having an understanding of where each different group is coming from and where their anxiety is coming from. And then how, for us in the tech world, it's like, well, what can we do to help alleviate some of that anxiety and help make that learning experience better for the kids? And that being said, I think that whole idea of going slow to go fast. Right. We have a lot of really awesome tools we can use, but let's just start with really getting to know Zoom, right? Like, let's just really figure that out so that whether you're full-time online or you are doing, hybrid, so you're doing some distance learning, knowing realistically we'll probably end up in full-time distance learning. Let's just use, find some of those really key digital tools and learn how to use them really well rather than feeling overwhelmed with, oh, I have to learn all of this right away. And so that's our takeaway, from the start.
And so with that, like with those tools, how have you really been able to incorporate your parents in, getting them up to speed with the start of the school year with the tools that you're trying to maximize?
Yes. So I feel like that has been one of our challenges for sure. Because as a district, we're really getting our educators up to speed too, and then our kids, and then getting our families. So we've tried really hard to put a lot of resources out there for families. Our instructional tech specialists have built a website for families to be able to go to. A lot of our teachers are just learning to make very quick videos and they'll send them out, whether it's through Seesaw or Schoology. So a lot of it is kind of on the fly. At the district level, we've set up a whole support structure where families can call in. We do say you're probably going to leave a voicemail and we'll get back to you. We have a dedicated email address for family support. And we have a person on my team who her whole job is connecting with families with some of the issues that they've been having. And I think having that personal connection has really made a difference. And again, going back to that idea of empathy, I think people, they really understand that we're working hard on our end and our people understand how hard they're working on their end. And so that, I think that just makes a difference, that whole idea of relationship too.
Right. So you're talking about the video part of it, and it made me think, that's a best practice we've been talking about for years. I know that you and I, well, the three of us have known each other for quite a while, so we've been kind of preaching this to teachers for a while, and now they're starting to use it, which is great. So let me ask you this: what do you think? Like, let's say magically in a year this is all over, right? Or in a few months this is all over. And those that are listening, we're in the middle of, this is October, this is probably November when they're listening, but at the same time, this will probably still be going on for quite a while. What are some tools that you think, what are some tools or techniques that teachers should probably keep with them in their toolkit after this, like when things go back to quote unquote normal?
Yeah. we're starting to call those COVID opportunities. So these are
COVID ops,
opportunities.
like
Yeah.
covert ops, but COVID ops. Ah, I get it.
I like that. I
Oh,
like that.
that's a good one.
Oh
COVID.
wait, I just hacked. Okay,
Trademark.
we just got a
Yeah.
hashtag. Hold on, I'm buying the domain right now. COVID ops.
I think, you know, the video is big, and you just said that, Carl, but I mean,
Yep.
to your point, we've been talking about that for a long time. I mean, I think that's really big, giving kids an opportunity to watch a lesson and then be able to go back and look at it again. I think the opportunity for assessment, all the different ways, I mean, our whole toolbox of digital tools now all of a sudden are things that kids are using every day to show what they're learning, because they have to be able to show their teacher in some more non-traditional ways than they had before. And I just feel like the whole system is going to shift a little bit. And I think the understanding that the digital tools are all part of the day-to-day, not something extra. Again, something we've talked about and been talking to people about for a long time, but that real understanding that this is just part of what we're doing and how we're getting to the end game, right?
Right. It's not just reserved for that last month of school when like, oh, the testing's done. Let's go ahead and take out some technology and learn how to use Book Creator today. Yeah.
Like this week we're doing Flipgrid. Like, no, we're going to use Flipgrid. So because you're at home and you're going to show me or tell me what you were learning while you were outside and it was snowing today or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's always that thing. It's like, now that we've done all the work, let's do the fun stuff and do technology. It's like, what?
Right.
Well, you know, I know COVID has been like a big topic, of course, since I don't know, January, February, March in the country. But, you know, we've had a lot of different things that have come up, especially in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So in this season of our podcast, we are asking tech leaders, you know, how are you addressing equity issues, you know, in your space? You know, what strategies have you used, or what is your district looking at? And what information or what advice could you give other tech leaders as they're looking in their seat how to address various equity issues that they may be facing in their spaces?
Yeah, that is a great question. We talk about this all the time, and we really want to put things in place so that all of our learners have access to whatever we're doing. You know, some of the things we kind of started with, we're fortunate because we have one-to-one devices in our district. So that equity issue is off the table right away. Every kid has a device, was able to take a device home. And then we have opportunities, have worked really hard to make sure everybody has the internet access that they need. Yeah. So trying really hard just to take those barriers out right away. For us, one of the things that we came across in talking about synchronous learning opportunities, because the state of Minnesota has said in order to count attendance, you have to have a meaningful contact with your teacher every day. So that can be interpreted in multiple ways. But for our full-time online, for example, you know, they have some synchronous learning that happens every day. Well, we want to be sure that all of our kids can access that, but they may be in homes where we don't feel comfortable saying you have to be on at 10 o'clock every day.
Right.
Because maybe I have to babysit my little brother and sister at 10 o'clock every day, but I can get on at 4, but I can't get on at that time. So we really try to pull those barriers out to the best of our ability and design a program so that it has flexibility built in that way.
And that's really good there, because I think a lot of times as adults, as educators, we come from a place of privilege. Ultimately, I think, you know, education is really along the lines of that middle-class America, what we perceive middle-class America. So we say, hey, why aren't you up at 8 a.m.? Why don't you turn on your cameras? And we've had to remind, like, I know my district teachers, you can't make the kid turn on their camera. I mean, there could be a lot going on that you're not aware of, you know. In their household that they don't want their other friends to see. You know, we actually had a kid who was doing this stuff they were homeless. We found out later, but they were in the car And so they were doing it in the car outside of a building. They're in the car all day.
Wow.
And so, yeah, they didn't want to have it on.
Yeah, we had some of that too. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's a huge one. You just can't expect you're essentially being invited into their space, their home, whether their home at that moment is a car or it's, their bedroom, wherever it might be. You can't really say, you have to let me into your home, which is basically what we're saying when we say you have to turn your camera on. Now, can I engage you in a different way to make sure that you're there and you're learning? Sure. And I think that's part of the trick of the work that we're doing, is how do we continue to engage kids? We have one, like our middle school, for example, we have one teacher who travels around in his truck with a paraprofessional, and to help the kids that are either doing distance learning or the full-time online kids. And they can either meet him where he is, they kind of know where he is, or, they can touch base with him, but he's sort of like our roving, help center, really.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And the kids love it, and they can see him and connect with him. And it's just another way to reach out and make sure kids are getting engaged, and to just kind of break that barrier down of, we're here to help you. And if you can't come to us, we'll come to you. And so just trying to find creative ways to do that.
And speaking of barriers, I know that, as you and I have held similar positions for years on the instructional tech side, and Adam's kind of on the evil side, he's on the hardware side of tech. And there's always that uncomfortable moment of, I guess you would say, a marriage, right? Of where the instructional side and the technical side sometimes don't see eye to eye. So talk to me about that idea and that strategy. What are some things you've done to kind of help, be a counselor, I guess, of sorts when it comes to the marriage to strengthen the marriage between IT and curriculum?
Yeah, definitely. And, I'm in a unique situation because in a small district, I kind of have to do part of what Adam's doing, or oversee it at least too, right? So one of the things with my team is we constantly talk about any decision we make, the end game has to do with the kids. How is this going to make things better for the kids? Sometimes it's not even better for the teachers, but it's better for the kids, because ultimately they are our top customer. But we really try to, and I feel so fortunate, I have such a great team behind me. They get it. I did bring them a whole bag of nerds, of Halloween nerds today.
Good start.
Nerds for the
candy.
Nerds,
Nice.
But they really get it and have really good relationships. But I think the other part of that marriage is with that curriculum and instruction. I see a lot of districts where you might have instructional technology and curriculum instruction, and they're both kind of doing the same thing, but they're not doing it together.
Right.
And so then you end up disjointed. And we really make almost all of our decisions together that have, that are instructional, about digital tools. We do, our curriculum and instruction department of learning, they're not just picking something and telling me, we actually pick it together.
Nice.
And bring teachers into it, and talk about it, and just continue to strengthen that relationship to the point that it's kind of like left hand, right hand. And I really think that has brought us further along than some districts have found themselves. And I think that has made, when we finally got up and running, it helped to really make it feel more successful or smoother, because we weren't disjointed. I mean, we were speaking the same language, and I don't know, that relationship, it is like a marriage. We believe it's like a marriage.
It takes work. Yeah.
It takes work. It does take work. This is very true.
Let me ask you this, because one thing that I've noticed actually, and this is like one of the good things I think that's come from being isolated, is that I actually meet with my curriculum department more. Before we only did face-to-face meetings, and even though we've all probably been pushing for virtual meetings for years now, yes. But now everybody's doing it, so it's pretty simple to say, hey, let me just invite you to my room real quick and let's talk about that implementation real quick, or let me get you up to speed. So I know for me, I've been actually meeting with my curriculum department more.
Yeah. I mean,
really,
and I think, I mean, we definitely have too. I think from the beginning, you know, when March happened and it was like, all right, we're shutting down. I mean, I feel like we've spent some real good quality. We had worked together very closely before that, but we definitely just in, you know, running learning design teams, and again, going back like digital tools, all of those things, we are meeting so much more. Because all those decisions weigh on both of us now so heavily too.
And I know, Adam, you've been always pretty passionate about that idea too, that somebody on that side has to have a seat at the table when it comes to the cabinet level. I don't know, Caroline, how it's sometimes the organization makes a big difference too, like how they have everything set up. But when those bigger decisions are happening, is there a representative? Are you representing that department? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're a small district, so both the director of learning and myself are both on cabinet. So, and so we have direct contact with our school board too, and do a lot of, you know, we have a lot of conversations with them. And if they have questions about things, you know, they'll reach out directly to us. So we definitely have a voice at that table, which is great.
Yep.
And for me, coming from a more instructional side of tech rather than a technical side of tech. I know enough technical to be dangerous and to, you know, to supervise it. But I think I just have a different lens, and it's really important for me that people understand that, again, tech is not just something separate, that we are part of the family, right?
Yep, for sure.
Not the redheaded stepchild or that cousin or uncle you don't talk about anymore.
Well, unless the Wi-Fi goes out, then I don't want to be hurt.
Yes, it's like, oh, I don't know, that's someone else. That's not me.
I don't know who that was. That's not my fault.
I blame facilities.
Yeah, there you go.
They for sure cut something.
So this is one thing that we always want to ask our guests as they come on, because we have millions and millions of subscribers out there. Don't forget, hit that like button. Subscribe. But, you know, I'm asking, and we're asking, could you provide some words of encouragement, something to really, you know, keep people going during this time? We really want to keep them undisrupted.
Oh, it's so hard to think about being undisrupted in a world that's so disrupted right now, right? But I mean, I really believe that you just have to get up every day and sort of feel like knowing something's probably not going to go right, but feeling like that's okay, because I know it's almost cliche, but everybody's doing the best work that they can. And, you know, as long as we continue to do our best to support students, teachers, continue those relationships with families within our community, and continue listening to people, the work that we do is going to keep moving forward. I mean, I feel like as ed tech leaders, we are in a very unique, what did we say? COVID ops.
Yeah, COVID ops.
COVID ops.
Because we're really moving. If this wasn't so terrible, we'd think this was amazing, because we are moving people forward in a way that I don't think any of us ever dreamed, and people love it. I mean, they are feeling great about what we're doing, and I think we have to just always remember, look for the good things that are coming out on those days that are really hard, to stop and say, wow, let's just stop and take a look at where we are, because as ed tech leaders, we have come a long way in a very short amount of time, and we're going to keep moving that way.
Yeah, and we're always talking about the future, right? And this is future ready, and we're always like, oh, that future, and it's kind of this squishy space that's way out there, and all of a sudden, it's like it's met right up with the present, and we're right on the cusp of that. And I think that's kind of the neat thing of all this pressure and the COVID ops and all the things that have happened. But I want to thank you, Caroline, for joining us. Plug yourself. Tell us where can our listeners find you and your great work, and you and your district.
We are in Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota. And what else?
Where can we find you? Can we follow you somewhere?
Not
like to the next cheese curd station, but
at the state fair. I'm on Twitter at Caroline M. Little. And that's pretty much where I'll put my thoughts and ideas out there.
Well, I want to thank you again for joining us. And for our listeners out there, be sure to subscribe and give us a review. Of course, we'd appreciate it if you give us a shout out on the show. We may actually bring in those reviews into future shows, just so you know. So go ahead and drop a review in there. This has been the Undisrupted podcast, brought to you by Future Ready Schools. He's Adam. You can find him on Twitter at AskAdam3.
And he's Carl, and you can find him at Mr. Hooker. And remember, we're better together, and we are
better
undisrupted.
Sort of. There we go. We made it. This podcast is made possible by the generous support of Amazon Web Services.